All right. Hey, everybody. You might be like, why are they in a hotel room together right now?
Yeah, this is a little odd.
It's a little odd. Well, we're at a conference in Houston today, but we got some news from our lender about a couple different programs.
Can I show them Houston?
Sure.
All right, hold on. Here's Houston. It's raining. That's Houston right there. We're not sure where we're going for dinner tonight, but we're going to go find something in Houston. It's going to be barbecue, right? If it's in Houston, isn't it just like a big barbecue thing?
Because we're closer to Mexico, we're going to do Mexico.
Hold on, you better fix that.
All right.
We're closer to Mexico than we are in Charleston, so we're going to go have Mexican.
Yeah.
And somehow this makes total sense to me. All right, so also, since we're at this conference, you always get the good, you always get the bad. With Mark and I, we're going to be totally transparent. I never drink alcohol.
Yes.
And I had 2 beers tonight just before we started filming this. And Mark had a drink, and I tasted his even. We shared drinks. And it was by Yo Bacon. It was really strong.
Yeah. So if you go too far off script, I'm just going to hit you.
Oh, you're freaking rude. Just hit my kneecap. That hurts so bad.
You'll be okay.
I might lay down. Okay, anyway. Palmetto Heroes Landon is here to ask. We're going to ask him some questions and get some answers. Landon, tell us, what is Palmetto Heroes and when does it start?
Before we go there.
Hold on.
Before we go there. If we don't know each other, my name is Mark. This is Jeff. We're with the Charleston Area Living Group, and we talk about all things in the Charleston Tri-County area. I did not hit you that bad. That's ridiculous.
Hit my knee.
And today we're going to talk about some financing options, some free money.
Free money.
Right? We should have the dollar bills.
Make it rain, baby. Making it rain up here. No, we're not making it rain with you and I in the hotel room.
No. And we got Mr. Landon Kale, LandonKale.com, right? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
And he's going to talk a little bit about these programs. So now you can ask your question.
All right. So this is only for a specific group of people. It's called Palmetto Heroes. So it's obviously for the heroes in our world. Give us the
I'm a hero.
No, not for this. You're not.
No.
What
if I was a police officer?
Then you would be a hero.
I would be a hero.
Absolutely.
Landon, what about if I run one of those ambulance trucks? Was that work?
Oh,
I don't know about that one, but although
I run one of those ambulance trucks. That was paramedic, emergency medical technician.
Oh, okay.
What? All right. If you did
I said that on purpose because
that makes me so mad. Ambulance drivers, that term drives me insane. All right, I'm gonna shut up. Who it's for?
If you were still a firefighter, you could probably get this program.
Yeah.
Do you meet the income requirements?
No, but they don't make bunker gear big enough for me anymore. So I'm not a firefighter anymore.
Well, at least the IRS doesn't know what your real income is, right?
Yeah, that's true. We try to keep that a very quiet secret.
All right, so South Carolina State Housing is South Carolina's housing authority. So pretty much every state in America has their own housing authority. South Carolina's is called South Carolina State Housing. And every year around springtime, April, May, doesn't have the same date every year where it rolls out, but usually in that April, May timeframe, South Carolina State Housing rolls out a special program. While they have programs that are available year round with pretty much unlimited funds, it seems like, there's always this one specific program everybody waits for every year, and that's called Palmetto Heroes. And Palmetto Heroes is just like any other program they offer, except there's 2 key benefits. Typically, they increase the amount of assistance by a few $1,000s over what the traditional programs are. And then over the last few years, this program's also provided a better interest rate. So last year, when Palmetto Heroes came out, the regular South Carolina State Housing Program, for the most part, was like 6.25% for a VA. And then the same time when Palmetto Heroes came out, if I remember correctly, it was like 5.75. So last year when Palmetto Heroes came out, not only were you getting a couple extra $1,000s in assistance, but then the interest rate was a little bit better. So it's something that only is coming out once a year, and it's a limited funds situation. So what that means is it's a first come, first served basis. So we don't know how much money they have set aside for this program, but what happens is once this program is released, this year it's on April the 15th, gotta love tax season, right? So you got to pay the money to the IRS, but they're going to give you some money back, at least in South Carolina. So when the money comes out on April the 15th, we don't know exactly how long this is going to be around for. So it's a first come, first served basis. Now, the one cool thing is, as this program gets used up, once you reach a certain threshold of cash left, they will notify all participating lenders like, hey, hurry up. If you're wanting to do this program, heads up, based on limited funds, we are getting to a certain threshold to where we're going to say by this date in the future, usually a week or two in advance notice, it's shut off for the rest of the year. So, yes, sir.
Last year, about when did it run, or how, since we don't remember what date it started, about how long did it run last year?
I think like a month and a half.
Okay. We don't have a ton of time into this.
Yeah, so I would say realistically, and it changes every year, right? Like some years it's faster, some years it's slower. But I would realistically say if anybody's really wanting to take advantage of this, probably within the first 4 to 5 weeks, you probably need to be under contract.
And in the past, there were programs like this that the money had to be paid back, I believe. Is this something that has to be paid back, or how long do they have to keep the house, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I don't have the specific rules yet because they literally just sent the email, hey, heads up everybody, April 15th is when we're rolling this out. So really the only thing I know with 100% certainty is that this year Palmetto Heroes is providing $12,000 in assistance, where the normal program is $8,000. And I'll just double check that as well, just to make sure I am right. Yeah, $12,000. Typically what happens is they will release a heads up notice. It's coming out on a certain date with a certain amount of money, but they don't release all the rules, or I don't have access to the rules or the guidelines quite yet this early. We still only have like 6 days left. So in the next couple of days, I should get them. But typically they mirror the same rules for the traditional South Carolina State Housing Program. So they typically are mirroring those same rules. So for this year, what's kind of cool and interesting about this program this year is also today, South Carolina State Housing also released their 2024 income limits for the program, because it is income based. But then they also raised the purchase price maximum for the program this year. So last year, South Carolina State Housing had a max purchase price of $395,000 throughout the entire state. This year, they have increased it to $425,000. So they not only released the news of Palmetto Heroes coming out on April the 15th, but also starting on loans being locked and sent to SC Housing on April the 15th. We are now under the new higher income limits, as well as the new higher purchase price of $425,000.
And $12,000, I mean, that takes care of quite a bit of stuff, right? Like closing costs and maybe some of your down payment, or is there certain things that can go for, or at least has gone for in the past?
Yeah, so talk about if there's like a $375,000 house in Summerville that somebody wanted to buy with this program, and their minimum down would typically be 3.5%, right?
3 or 3.5. Yeah, if you go conventional and you're a first-time home buyer, you can get away with 3%. If you have to go FHA, 3.5. So the amount of money they give you, this $12,000 for the program, like if you buy a $400,000 house and you go conventional, 3% down, there's $12,000. So it'll at least get you the down payment. And then we just have to figure out the closing costs, whether we ask the sellers pay the closing costs, or maybe you have already saved up some cash to pay your closing costs. You just needed a little extra assistance to get over the bump. Now, going back to what you said earlier, Mark, it is repayable, but it's not a monthly fee or anything like that. So it's not like a second loan you have to pay back or anything like that. It's a grant program. So the traditional South Carolina State Housing Program is now a 15-year repayable grant, meaning if you sell that house within the first 15 years of ownership, you have to pay that money back to the state of South Carolina. But it's not like you're going to lose money, because if you keep a house for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years, doesn't really matter. You're going to make money on it. So instead of you making, say, $100,000, if you use this program, they're going to keep the 12, so you're going to make $88,000. So it's a way to get you in the house for those people that want to buy a house and need to buy a house, but just need the assistance to get in there. But I don't have the full rules on the Palmetto Heroes program, but if it's following that standard South Carolina State Housing Program, it's a 15-year repayable grant. But it doesn't come with a monthly payment for the money or anything like that. It's just you are locked into that for 15 years. So if you sell the house within 15 years and or refinance, because sometimes the refinance also triggers that repayable situation, then you've got to pay back the money. But on the refi, we're not really too worried about it, because most of the time, when somebody's refinancing their house, they've already owned the house for a few years anyway. There's enough equity to figure out, do we roll it in? Do you want to pay it back out of cash? So it gives us that flexibility in how we do it. This program, honestly, is a really good program. Mainly, I would say, or one of the key benefits is for active duty military, people that are PCSing around the country, depending on their branch of service and how long they're going to be in town. like most of the time, Air Force, for the most part, if you're not like a pilot or anything like that, you're here for 3 years, maybe 4 years. Sometimes the pilots are here for 6 or 7 if they get certain classifications. But it's a really cool way for an active duty military member that's getting PCS in Charleston, whether you're in the Coast Guard, the Air Force, to get in here and be able to write a competitive offer on a home without having to ask the sellers pay for any closing costs. So it's a really cool way for them to kind of get a free house. And then in 2 or 3 years, they're going to have enough equity in the home to sell it, get some of that money back. So they're walking away with some cash in their pocket. Yeah, what's up, brother?
Do we know yet this year, I might have missed it, what the salary max is, the income max is?
Yeah, so it's county based. So this is the thing about South Carolina State Housing is the amount of money that you can make up to is dependent
Can you give me
upon
Berkeley?
county. Say what?
Can you give me Berkeley?
Yeah, so starting April the 15th, Berkeley County for a 1 to 2 person household. So it's also based on the county, but it's also based on how many people are in your household. So a 1 to 2 person household in Berkeley County, you can make up to $126,120. And then if you're a family of 3 or more, you can make up to $147,140. So it's not low income limits by any stretch of the imagination. It's beefed up enough to where it is doable for a lot of families out there with dual incomes.
So if we have a teacher and a firefighter that are under that income limits, and we are, and I'm saying this because Mark and I have done this in the past, where we have purchased a home under this program for somebody, and really we got closing costs covered from the seller of the home, or at least the majority of them.
Which can't happen all the time.
It doesn't happen all the time,
it
but
might.
when you're as good as Mark, you can get it done more than you can. And so these people were out of pocket for a couple $1,000s to get this house because they used the money that was available through the Hometown Heroes, and then we got the closing costs covered almost completely.
And then they just had to do the home inspection.
The home inspection and an appraisal, I think, is what they paid out of pocket. Really, that was it.
Yeah, and one of my favorite stories of this program last year, I did a loan for a former veteran. So you don't have to be in the military right now to even qualify. You can be a former veteran. There are rules about how long you can be out of the military and still qualify. I'll get all those rules in the next couple of days and figure it out. I think it's either 10 or 20 years. So even if you just got out of the military, you still could possibly even qualify for this program, depending on how long ago it was when you got out of the military. But I did this for a first-time home buyer. She served in the military, so she used her VA benefit, because that's the one thing about South Carolina State Housing. You're still using a VA loan, or you're still using an FHA loan or a conventional loan. You're just getting that cash from the South Carolina State Housing Office. So for military members, you're still using your VA benefit, 100% financing. You just get that kicker of $12,000 for the Palmetto Heroes program to pay for those closing costs. But for this individual lady, she had her VA eligibility, 100% financing. Not only that, but we also had closing cost credits from the sellers and the money for last year's Palmetto Heroes, which was $10,000 last year. And we were in a situation where, because we had a certain amount of money from the seller's pocket to pay for those closing costs, it just so happened we just figured out, hey, you got this extra cash, and I'll tell that story in a second, that when it came down to it, to balance all the numbers for closing, I had like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 left over. And so we just put that towards her car loan. So she just put that towards her car loan, and we paid her car off.
Or it could go towards buying the rate down even more, or is that they allow that?
No, so that's the only bad thing with South Carolina State Housing. It's a fixed menu, so it's a set menu. So there's one interest rate and only one interest rate. So every day they release their rate sheets to lenders. So South Carolina State Housing, that's the only bad thing. You can't buy the interest rate down or anything like that. So it's that one interest rate and only one interest rate set menu.
But if it looks the same as it did last year, you're saying that rate was lower than the traditional conventional FHA VA last year, so you're already getting a better rate than everybody else.
Yeah, so I mean, typically the Palmetto Heroes route, whatever that normal rate is for the regular South Carolina State Housing Program, it is always lower than the normal South Carolina State Housing Program. So you get the lower rate as a benefit, and then you get a few extra $1,000 as a benefit. And for this lady, since she wasn't moving, like this was a home that she was going to stay in for a very, very, very long time, she wasn't worried about paying the money back or anything like that. So that's why we stuck that extra cash over into paying her car off. And that really saved her a lot of money, because not only did she walk into a situation where she bought this townhome for literally no money out of pocket, she got her earnest money back, but then we had leftover money and we didn't use the money. She was going to lose it. So we threw it into her car loan to pay her car loan off. And so it really worked out kind of funny, because that contract came to me, it was already negotiated. And then they learned about Palmetto Heroes. They called me And because I hadn't negotiated the contract and she wasn't expecting to use the program, they had negotiated those closing cost credits. So we had all this extra free cash to play with.
And really, these people have, given a lot of their lives to these different
society.
Yeah,
these
benefits are awesome.
I love the program.
Yeah.
And so it is limited, of course, like you said. So I think it's important that if you're eligible for this, that you jump on this. The best way to do that is to, down in the description of this video, you can click on a link. And if you make a note in there that you're interested in Palmetto Heroes when you schedule a Zoom call with us, we can circle Landon in and have Landon be on that phone call with us so we could talk through if you're eligible, what you're eligible for, and what that could look like. But, we probably have somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks. We don't know what it'll be. We've gotten people under contract in the house in 2 days. So,
and even though it doesn't start until April 15th, that doesn't mean that we can't get them started in the pre-approval process and all that, right?
Yeah, by the time we get this video edited in, it's going to be close to that anyway.
Right.
Yeah, so we can start the process now a couple days early, get the files set up, so when all the final rules and the guidelines come out and the interest rates and everything come out, plug and play, Mark, Jeff, here's your purchase price, let's go find a house. But it's a really cool program. I mean, Mark and I did one last year for a nurse, and it worked out to be a really cool story because she didn't have the money to buy this house, and she was life-change situation, and she needed to buy a home, and this was how she was able to do it. So you and I even had a
like Mark better than me.
Say what?
You use Mark as an example there. You're saying you like Mark better than you like me. That's okay.
In that example, I do like Mark better, Jeffrey. I love you.
And now the truth comes out. All right, Landon, last question for you. Let me just run this past you. All right. So because of my previous job, I have super status at Marriott. We're staying in a Marriott property here in Houston tonight. And I'm titanium elite. So not even silver, gold, bronze, whatever it is. Titanium, baby. And I have it for lifetime. So one of the benefits is I get automatic upgrades into suites. So when we checked in, I said, are there any suites available? Why, yes, Mr. Gregg, there are. I'm all excited. I'm going to get a suite. And they says, oh, only one problem. It's only available for one bed in the suites. No 2 queens, only 1 king. Would you like that? And I looked at Mark, and this is the look that Mark gave me. Nope.
Not happening.
He was not willing to snuggle with me to get a suite. We could have had a whole living room, kitchen, whole thing going on here, but no, now we're stuck in a regular old room because Mark didn't want to snuggle.
I'll save you the details of why I made that decision later.
Mark, they have pull-out couches. You could have slept on a pull-out couch.
I probably would have slept on the floor.
Hey, Lance, thanks for jumping on, buddy. I appreciate it. And remember, jump down in the description, schedule a Zoom call with us, and make a note. You have a place that you can make a note there so we can see what you want to talk about. Write Palmetto Heroes in it, and we'll get Landon on the call with us.
And if you found any value from this video, do us a favor. Go ahead and click that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click that little bell. We do a couple of videos a week, and we want to get that information out to more people like you. So thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, this is the only one we've ever done from a hotel. I promise we won't do another one.
See ya.